I'm Jaden.
I'm Nate.
Welcome to the JNN podcast.
Episode 6.
Today, we talking about World War III. Also, kind of, but I can only hear through one ear, so I might talk a little funny because I can't hear myself kind of super amazingly. My headphone little extender is lost for the foreseeable future, but I just got a headphone amp because which will help me record like bands in the studio.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I'm getting a headphone amp, so we'll be able to hear ourselves better in the future.
So, have you guys had thoughts of an impending world war? Well, we're going to get into that.
Indeed.
So, there's so many things going on in the world today. It's just astounding. We have the war that is still going on in Ukraine that has been largely forgotten. We have,
which is stupid because it's claimed so many lives.
Not to mention just the lives taken and the economic burden on the people of Ukraine. And then, of course, there's China and them threatening to take over Taiwan. And then you were saying something about like North Korea, right?
Yeah, well, North Korea, they did a missile test recently.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, of course, there's the conflict happening in Israel and Gaza.
Oh yeah,
which
that
is
too.
Fucked.
Completely.
We're gonna be looking at the overall kind of world view, though. I had this history teacher his name was Father Foster.
I remember him well.
And he was he was a good history teacher. He always gave every side a good shout, but in a conflict, or was kind of objective with telling us history. But he was saying that in our lifetimes we should expect another world war, a conflict between Russia, China, and the U.S. And I remember being like, nah. And I mean, we may not end up having any conflicts, but for sure, eventually, the interests of the United States, China, and Russia will eventually come to a head. This is, in my opinion, inevitable. Eventually there will be another great war.
There will be. There always has been. There always seems to be a major war. Every like 80 years, every 100 years. It's like the world just can't keep itself from fighting.
Well, I mean, if you look at the state of history, peace isn't the norm; it's the exception.
Yep.
War
exactly.
is the normal. I mean, which makes sense. I mean, people have always been killing each other since the dawn of time.
People have always been power hungry.
As long as people have ambitions, as long as the human spirit exists, there's going to be problems like that. Which is why I personally believe in us maintaining a strong military presence, at least in our own country. Just like maintaining a good, strong military, because we're going to have conflict. And a country with a weak military is a country destined to fail, where we do not live in a perfect world yet. We don't live in a world that is unite with the single world government. As long as there's opposing conflicts and sides, I mean, there's going to be conflict, and having a weak military is just a bad idea.
So I was doing some research on it, and America actually has the largest Air Force and the largest Navy. China has the largest ground force with like 2.3 million soldiers, and Russia is believed to have the largest nuclear arsenal. Now, with all that being said, if all of these different conflicts that are going on in the world right now don't get resolved in one way or another, I'm not saying there is going to be, but there could be another world war. But with that being said, I think if we have another world war, I think the US will still come out on top just because of the fact that we are still the strongest military in the world.
I mean,
It would have a lot of
realistically,
implications, though.
it's impossible. Like it is it's not practical to invade us. That's not really an option.
Yep.
And so the only way we could really, the way it, the this is how I would take down the United States personally. Hello, Dad.
Hey.
This is how I would take down the United States personally. If I were an enemy, I would first make the youth of America believe that America is Satan, which isn't
America's
hard to
bad.
do. It's
Young people are easily misled.
yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
So that's the first thing I would do, and then the second thing I would do, is weaken our power around the world, and that I mean that starts with our youth, but then weakening our power around the world, and basically isolating the United States, and
Even I'd even go as far as to say as trying to weaken the dollar.
yeah,
Because the dollar is still like, what is it? Not It's not the global currency, but it's like the currency that most countries would fall back on.
and that I mean that's changing a lot. A lot of countries are coming. The U.S. dollar is becoming less and less relevant as history and time goes on. Eventually, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but as it stands right now, it's not really the only way I would say it's practical to fight the United States directly is through nuclear weapons, because it's not practical. You can't really invade us through land. There's Canada,
We
and
have too
then
much air power.
and there's Mexico, and then we have a huge navy. So the only way I would say is in the short term is a nuclear conflict, and the long term it would be a just try to weaken America's interests, and
Yep.
then wait till a point where America's weak enough to actually give them a good strike, or I mean even cause America to tear itself apart, which wouldn't be that difficult.
With how divided we already are, and with how many people think that a civil war is possible in the next 10 years. I don't know. And then also combined with the fact that our economy and government is already starting to weaken to a point because of the debt that we have. Our debt is almost unmanageable at this point. And that is a good way to cripple a country, is debt.
I'm curious to see in the next 20 years kind of how this conflict plays out, because I don't think from I don't think where we are currently there's going to be a world war. I mean, it could be. That'd be unfortunate, of course. Like really
Yeah.
really unfortunate, but I don't see it happening really. I don't see it escalating that far. Tension hasn't gotten that bad yet. Maybe in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
But
I think like tensions are tough right now, but I personally think that in the next few years tensions will subside, at least for the short term, but I think that they could get much worse, and I think that the tensions that we're having now could come back and they could become much bloodier and just turn into outright chaos. But I don't see a world war, at least not in the next 5 years.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think where it would start, how it would start. I mean, it would start in the European countries, the other side of the world for the most part, but it would. I mean, start with Russia completely conquering Ukraine.
It also could start with China though,
Well, that's what I was.
trying to take over Taiwan.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's China's interests would play a really big part of all this. They, like, if they added North Korea and South Korea fell, that would be a. I mean, nobody can argue that North Korea isn't a good country. Not
no.
like, and if no matter what what your opinions are, the rest of the world, the rest of the countries, nobody can argue that North Korea is a piece of shit and deserves to be the leadership there needs to be skinned alive. Like they're not good people in any way, sense, or form. And if South Korea falls, which I actually don't know how strong South Korea's military is. I know the U.S. is over there.
We do like military exercises with them. They have a fairly strong military.
Well, if I was China, it'd be in my best interest to get rid of South Korea because right now they're too much.
And Japan.
I feel like that'd be harder to do.
It would be harder
because don't they have a really good navy?
Well, I don't know about that, but I know their military is pretty strong and they're pretty technologically advanced.
Yeah, they're like they're
one of the most technologically advanced countries outside of Israel.
I don't see China successfully taking over Japan. But with Japan right there, that would be the step to go. Or
Yep.
It would be South Korea for me. Like if I were China, and then if I could get Japan, but Japan just seems like way too tough a target. Plus, I mean, if there was really a conflict between China and Japan, I don't see the U.S. not getting involved with that, which would lead to a World War III. Like that would be a start of that. But if South Korea falls, then it would be
there could be a domino effect.
It'd just be easier to handle those countries over there.
One other thing that could possibly lead to a world war soon in the next few years is if Vladimir Putin, Russia, ends up being successful in Ukraine, it could embolden him to take a swipe, if you will, or attack a NATO ally, and then you would have a war between the NATO allies and Russia. But I was also doing research on it, and Russia doesn't pose a threat to NATO right now because while they are making advances in Ukraine and gaining more territory, their military is also pretty degraded and depleted at the moment, so they don't really pose a threat to NATO.
I think the main worry actually is from China. I think
China is coming close to outpacing our economy actually, and that's scary to think about.
I wouldn't don't they have a bigger economy than the U.S. is? Like I know we're not like
I don't think so.
Their quality of life overall is not as good as the United States, but in terms of just their sheer ability to produce
anything really
poop.
Yeah, I think when I last did research on it, they were like right under us or even with us, but we were still outpacing them. But they were very close. And that's just that's not good for a country.
China has the second strongest navy.
They have the biggest ground force.
Okay.
Like it's insane how many ground soldiers they have.
I mean, they're probably not well-fed ground soldiers.
I don't know.
I know. I remember seeing that North Korea had a land army of 7 million. Back when I was
maybe like total, and like all of like Air Force, Navy.
Well, I know they require all their citizens to be a part of the military for a certain
For
length
at
of
least
time.
2 years. Yeah. Yeah.
What can we do to prevent a world war? Well, nothing.
Quite honestly, like most of this is out of our reach. But
I mean, we could start with just electing good
strong
people,
officials.
strong officials. I am not going to say much about it, but I definitely don't feel like we're in good hands with the current president.
Yeah, me either.
Like, I don't
I
really think
feel-
there's a good. I don't really don't think there's a good selection of people like candidates to choose from. Like, genuinely, all the presidents that I can think of electing are sleazy douchebags. Like, I want to see some new faces. Like overall, somebody with like,
Somebody younger.
yeah. Honestly, I'm tired of these old fucking men ruling the world.
But I lost my train of thought, to be honest.
Got him emoji. Hey guys, if you're liking this video, make sure to leave a like. And if you're hating this video so far, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And
For real. Yeah, if you, like you said, if you enjoyed the video, if you're new to the channel, welcome. We hope you've enjoyed our talk so far. Make sure to subscribe. We drop a video every week. Make sure to drop a like, comment. Now, I've been doing this. If you got to the end of the video, comment teamwork down below so we know that you're one of the people that actually watches the entire video. But I think that's about all we got for y'all today. So
hey, and also we're super interested in hearing about the topics you want us to talk about, local or worldwide. We'd love to hear your inputs on it.
For real. But thank you for listening to the JNN Podcast, Episode 6.
See
We're
you
out.
next time.